Hey kids, do you like reviews? There's a lot of reviews down here. And a lot of poop.
If you will come with me, you'll float too.
Well everyone, it's October and that means my horror-thon is back. I'm not exactly sure why both Lonnie and Christian decided that the world was a lesser place without my review of a miniseries from 1990, but I'm not paid to ask questions. I'm paid to review stuff. And I'm not even paid for that. But this is a miniseries based on a book by Stephen King and starring Tim Curry, and I'm being told that this is incorrect. Apparently they were requesting a movie that just came out that's a remake of that miniseries. And apparently I should know that because I watched the movie. Well fine, let's not talk about it at all. Let's talk about it. Bill and his brother Georgie make a sailboat, and that sailboat leads to the death and dismemberment of Georgie at the hands, or the mouth technically, of Pennywise the dancing clown. 8 months and several missing children later, Bill and his gang of losers, Fat Kid Ben, Comic Relief Richie, Hypochondriac Eddie, the Jew Stan, the Black Mike, and the Chick Bev start to investigate the history of the town in hopes of finding Georgie and the other missing children, and it goes wonderfully. Though I enjoyed capital I it, I also wrestled with some feelings of being underwhelmed. I can't say that it had anything to do with not living up to the book because I've never read the book. And I can't say that it's because it didn't live up to the miniseries because I barely remember the miniseries. I think my biggest issue with the movie is that it just tried so damn hard. And what I mean by that is that it is technically possible for this movie to take place without Pennywise showing up in practically every single change of scenery. It's as if they just start a scene and then can't figure out how to get out of it, so they just throw the clown in it. Also, this movie goes hard with the kid problems. Every single person that we meet in this town over the age of 12 ranges from creepy to straight up evil. You'd think that the kids in this town wouldn't even be fazed by a murderous clown, just thinking to themselves, well, it's not as bad as my pedophile father, or possibly pedophile pharmacist, or future serial killer / bully that torments us constantly. But from what I gathered from a brief study on the internet, that's just Stephen King for you. At least they somehow found a way to make a good story about childhood, friendship, and imagination without Stephen King's unique idea of how Bev would initiate team building. Look it up. Or don't. The visuals in this movie were all well done. All the things that were supposed to be scary and unsettling achieved their goals, like Pennywise's house and underground lair, the leper guy, and the creepy, why would anyone purchase this picture and hang it up flute lady. And the blood firing out of the bathroom sink and all over Bev was very well done. But it was a total failure on Bev's part to not think to plug that sink up with one of those tampons we had watched her purchase earlier in the film. Problem solved. Now, since this movie is a lot more about the relationships between the people, most of my jokes are about the characters. I mean my critiques. I'm a professional. Sports. First of all, let me preface this by saying that I barely remember which kids have which names. So I'm just going to break them down into their most obvious physical characteristics. So Stutters was fine, but things would have been so much easier for him if he would just get over his dead brother already. I mean, it would take me so much less time to get over my sister's death, especially if she had lost my extremely valuable origami boat. Don't tell her I said that. But Stutters does have at least one redeeming quality. Powerful thighs. I was super impressed when he was pedaling his bike uphill with the fat kid on the back. And then we come to Fatty, who apparently occupies himself by sitting in a library alone reading a book called The Morbid History of Dairy because he has no friends. And I wonder why. And then he's apparently compelled to follow a trail of eggs for some reason. I mean, if Pennywise really wants to tempt this kid into following a trail of something, shouldn't it be donuts? I mean, you don't get tits that luscious from eggs. Which reminds me, when they were swimming, why did the chick wear a bra and he didn't have to? And then we move on to the chick, who in my opinion is kind of dumb. Or at least I decided that she was when she was in the bathroom and the girls were calling her a slut and a little shit, and she said, well, which is it? Am I a slut or a little shit? As if the two are mutually exclusive. Dream big, little lady. You can be both if you believe in yourself. You know, I had a clever segue prepared on how to get to the comic relief kid, but it's just not coming out of my mouth. Speaking of the loudmouth kid, sorry, that's the best I could come up with. Anyway, Loudmouth was really funny half the time and really tedious the other half. I mean, if I were the hypochondriac kid, I would have broken my arm by constantly beating Loudmouth's face in as opposed to breaking it by falling through a hole in the ground. But only because he was constantly talking and not because of the actual things that he was saying about my mom. I mean, Loudmouth has actually seen the sissy kid's mom, right? To be kind about this, she was a hefty, unpleasant looking sort. If Loudmouth kept going on about how he banged my mom and she looked like that, I'd have to ask him which one of us is meant to be more disgusted by that. Moving on, I had no thoughts one way or the other about the Jew or the black kid. And that's not because I'm racist. It's just a coincidence that I also happen to be a racist. But in general, the kids in this movie were very good. They just weren't very bright. But that strikes me as an accurate portrayal of kids, so I don't mind. To me, it seems perfectly kid-like to plan far enough to get to Pennywise's house and then have no plan beyond that. And also to loudly proclaim that they have to stick together and be constantly separated with minimal effort. I would have to say that I'm torn on Bill Skarsgård in this movie, but I would also say that I'm overall happy with his portrayal of Pennywise. It was very creepy and unsettling in both appearance and performance. Where I would have to say I'm torn is how I would compare it to Tim Curry's Pennywise, especially with how dim my recollection is. Mostly I'd say that they're two distinct and separate choices and can't be compared. But then I'd go ahead and compare them anyway and give the edge to Tim Curry. But then I'd also have to decide that it's just because Tim Curry is naturally more creepy as a person, and not knowing Skarsgård from anywhere else, Tim Curry wins. So that's it. No, I mean that's it. You had to know I'd go for that joke at least once. It's a good story and it's decently creepy, though it's not particularly scary and perhaps tries a little too hard with the frequency of their scare attempts. And it's visually great and has no bad performances that I can recall. Feeling like roughly the same movie, but darker and better looking, I'd probably say that this It is superior to that It, but not by much. Still, probably worth seeing, just like my other videos, so don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and if you have anything you'd like me to review or just comments in general, leave them in the section below. So for this video, I have been Robert, and It has just been reviewed. Is that they had scenes where the ghost lady was just walking around, and the actress had to act like they couldn't see her. There's someone in here.